Slipped in there. Hey. Good to see you.
Couple like the crowd, huh?
Good morning. Good morning. This is a community meeting. We welcome everybody here. If we can all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome everybody. This is a community meeting. It's an open forum, and we have a panel of speakers here that are all involved with economic development, and we're really looking forward to their insight and experience and what they have to say that we can learn as a city. This is Andre Wallace. Janice will do their bios. And this is Steve DeVenow and Bill Garrison. So, there's food over here, so help yourself if you would like some. There's water in the cooler. And as I said, we're going to be collecting comments, and we just want to welcome everybody and thank you for coming. And I'm going to turn this over to Janice.
Thank you, Mayor, we appreciate it. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for giving up their Saturday morning. As a planner, this is so exciting because I hate to see some of my fellow planners, if they get 10 people in the community meeting on a Saturday, they would be excited. So to see this room full really makes me excited to know that we have this much input in the community. As the Vice Mayor said, this is informal. What we're going to do, just so you have a kind of a plan for the day, I'll do some quick overviews of our Gateway Corridor. I'm going to ask my speakers to talk a little bit, and then we're going to have an open community input where we will just basically anybody that has any thoughts of what we need to look forward to, we'll just take them, we'll write them up on the sheet, and then after today, the staff will go through them. It'll probably go back to the council and et cetera to figure out where we're going from here. There is a sign-in sheet over by the door if everybody can make sure they sign in sometime before they leave. This way we'll know who's here. If we have any future meetings or any information, we'll make sure we get it out to you. So like I said, the first thing is we appreciate you coming. Oh yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I want to make sure we have some important people here. Is our council person, our Vice Mayor Mitch Timberlake is here somewhere back in the back. Council Member Van Royal, Council Member Steve Kelly, and Councilwoman or person Connie Butler is here. Also City Manager is behind me, Danielle Judd, City Attorney Jim Arnold. I've got my Code Enforcement Officer Mitra Balsami. A lot of you talked to her over the times. And then my assistant Kimberly Farnsworth are here to help us also. So anything you need, please let us know. As I said, we appreciate you being here. I'm just going to quickly go through a little bit of the history of our Gateway Corridor so you know why we're here and where we're at. So then there's some maps around, and we'll take a break after this because you all want to get up and walk around. So basically the city has what we call 2 overlay zones. The Gateway Corridor, which is basically going from Governor's Creek down 17 and then going out State Road 16 west. In the middle, we have, what you see in the blue, is our central business district zoning. The CBD was established back in 1996, so it's been around a long time, and it was to try to promote redevelopment of our corridor, basically the Walnut Street more or less corridor. Then in 2005, the City Council at that time asked for a long-term visioning, and we had a year-long visioning session with ending with a community meeting such as this, and we came up with the Tomorrow's Vision Plan, and in that plan, we recommended various things, and one of the goals was to promote the redevelopment of State Road 6, US 17 and State Road 16 through town. From that, one of the implementation measures of our visioning was our Gateway Corridor zoning district, which looked at various things from landscape zoning, uses, etc. It was right after, if you remember, when the car dealerships moved out of town. That was kind of the impetus of that plan. And parking, signage, required monument signs, etc. But the problem is, after that, the county went tanked a little bit, as everybody knows, and so we cannot, if you have an existing business and you don't do any redevelopment, your new standards don't apply. What we call grandfathered in the zoning world. So some of these businesses, nothing was happening. So then in 2012, the council did Tomorrow's Vision Update. We had a day-long meeting, and it was held in 2012. And in that, the big issues was updating the look at the Gateway Corridor. Why do businesses want to come? Why do they want to redevelop? Is what our Gateway Corridor looks like. So we moved forward on that, and from that we created what we call our Gateway Corridor CBD pilot grant program. And I know there's some people in the audience that are business owners and property owners along the corridor, and they've taken advantage of it. And it was a 50-50 match between the city and the private developers to promote investment where you maybe didn't have to update your sign. You went ahead and did it anyways, and it's been very successful. It's leveraged a lot of private dollars, and it's continuing today. The council's, we're in our 5th year, and the council has funded it every year through our general funds. So that's kind of where we are today, and so we've had some discussions that we need to look at it again, and as a planner, every about 5 years, you need to look at something and figure out where you're at. Is it working? you need to tweak it, it's just part of the planning process. So that's why we kind of called this meeting today. The council asked us, brought it, one of the council members said, hey, we need to look at our gate recorder again. We said, great. And I want to introduce one of our county commissioners. I appreciate he's coming in. County Commissioner Seller, thank you for joining us. And anyway, so we said, let's have another visioning session. So I asked some really top-notch people in our area in economic development. To my left is Andrew Wallace. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the City of Jacksonville Downtown Investment Authority. He served in this capacity since August of 2013. Prior to coming to Jacksonville, Mr. Wallace spent 3 years as Executive Director of the Detroit Land Bank Authority, and with previous experience as a Senior Vice President of Commercial Real Estate at the North Carolina Community Development Initiative, as well as holding numerous positions managing community, economic, and housing development initiatives over 12 years in Miami-Dade County. He holds a Master's in Public Administration from Clark University and a Bachelor of Science in Political Science from the Georgia Southern University. He's a certified housing development finance professional and a certified development finance professional. Our next speaker is Mr. Steve Diguna. He's a partner with the law firm of Dreyer, McCarthy, Peak, and Hawthorne. He focuses on real estate and land use law and government relations and zoning law. He's a registered lobbyist and deals with a wide range of government affairs issues. He provides legal counsel in the acquisition, entitlement, financing, and development of all types of commercial and residential property, in the acquisition, sale, and leasing of all kinds of land, and the creation and mitigation conservation lands. He was also the Chief of Policy and Planning and Chief Staff for Mayor Payton in Jacksonville, and he negotiated numerous economic development incentives for the city. He's currently Vice Chair of the Jacksonville Transportation Authority, and he's an active member of the Jacksonville Regional Chamber of Commerce. He received both his undergraduate and law degree from the University of Florida, and he's also, Mr. Divina has been selected for inclusion in the 2016 and 2017 edition of the Best Lawyers in America in the Practice of Land Use and Zoning. And last but definitely not least is our own Clay County's Economic Development President, Mr. Bill Garrison. He's been there since, he's been with the Clay Economic Development Corporation, an independent not-for-profit corporation dedicated to promoting high-quality economic growth in Clay County in Northeast Florida. Bill is a 35-year resident of Clay County and has over 25 years experience in real estate development and business management. He graduated from the U.S. Naval Nuclear Power School and has served the U.S. Navy Submarine Service. He's also a graduate of our own state, Johns River State College. So without further ado, because we want to keep us on schedule and our goal is to get you out around noon today, I'm going to turn the mic over to Steve.
Well, good morning. I heard that, there was some concern about six-laning some roads and talking about widening some roads. That's not what we're here to talk about today. So if anyone's here that's concerned about that, I don't know, maybe we'll get another session on that later on. But I sure appreciate the invitation to come and speak with you this morning. Again, my name is Steve, and I've been in a unique position to be not only practicing law with private firms, but also I've worked in government. So when I first graduated from school, I went and worked for Bob Graham, which I know a lot of you will recall as the former governor of Florida, and I worked with him for a few years in D.C. And then as Janice mentioned, I also worked in city government with Mayor Payton. So my experience is maybe a mix of both the private side and the public side. And I have to say that driving through the neighborhood and through the community this morning, it's been a long time since I've been past the courthouse. I typically stop at the courthouse and visit with the folks on the county commission, and I rarely come south of there. And I have to say that the development that I've seen south in this particular part of the neighborhood is astounding. I had no idea that the project was going on back here in the back. And a lot of the research that I did leading up to this conversation this morning, this city is doing exactly what all the pundits or the experts would say should be done. And I think that's really a tribute to the local leadership that you have, the leadership you have in Tallahassee and obviously at the county as well. As I said, I did quite a bit of reading, thinking about the questions that Janice posed for me. She asked me to talk about what are the things that entice development and redevelopment, and then what are the obstacles for development and redevelopment. And a lot of the literature, there's one study in particular that I thought was really fascinating. It was done by the University of North Carolina. It's from December of 2008, and it tried to categorize smaller cities into ways that it was maybe more easy to think about. And so they categorized small cities as in 4 categories. That would be recreation or retirement destinations adjacent to an abundance of natural assets, places with historic downtowns or prominent cultural or heritage assets, home to or adjacent to colleges or universities, and then adjacent to metropolitan areas or an interstate highway. And those are things that, a lot of things that you just can't control. But Green Cove Springs has a lot of those advantages already, and I'm not going to pretend to go through and repeat them. You know what they are. The historical assets, historic downtown, the natural resources that are around, the proximity to a metropolitan area. Those are things that, some of which you can control a little bit, some of which are just plain luck. Green Cove Springs has a lot of things going for it that maybe we take for granted. You can't buy the river, for example. You either have it or you don't, right? So the question is, how do you utilize the assets around you in order to promote your city? So maybe you can help answer a question for me. I was trying to think of and find out who's the most famous person from Green Cove Springs? Who's
Charles Merrill.
Okay, and she was a poet, a writer, a sculptor, or an artist. Okay, who else?
Charlie Merrill.
Charlie Merrill. Oh, the founder of Merrill Lynch.
Yeah.
So okay, let's talk about him for a second. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the artist, but let's talk about him. So when he started his business, he had to go to New York, right? He couldn't really start a financial services company in Florida. But today you probably could. Today, because of technology, there are tremendous opportunities. So imagine if Mr. Merrill had created his business here or had relocated his business here after he had started it. Seems kind of crazy in that context, but if you look at cities around the country, who knows where Walmart is located? Bentonville, Arkansas. It's the largest it's the largest company in the Fortune 500 list. How many people live in Bentonville, Arkansas? It's 41,000, about 41,000 people. There's another city in Pennsylvania that has 2 Fortune 500 companies. One's called Consul Energy, another one's called Mylan Pharma. It's located in Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania. Population 8,900. 8,900 people. They have 2 Fortune 500 companies. Chobani Yogurt. Anybody eat Chobani Yogurt? Chobani Yogurt. Now they were on 60 Minutes about a month ago, so maybe people might know this already. It may not be as big of a shock. They're located in New Berlin, New York. Population 2,600. And that company, Chobani Yogurt, is worth about $10 billion. That's the market cap of Chobani Yogurt. So my point is, and I appreciate the Merrill Lynch, the Charlie Merrill reference, I think focusing on your existing businesses is probably the #1 thing that you can do to attract business and additional employment opportunities to your city. Growing your own local businesses and focusing on what's here already rather than perhaps recruiting. I'm not saying recruiting shouldn't be done, but I'm saying that your #1 opportunity, in my opinion, is what you have already today. The other great thing that I've noticed in my years representing companies trying to relocate, or in representing the government in receiving companies and inquiries about relocation is, again, this is just my opinion, the #1 thing, what do you think this is according to me, so I'm going to ask this kind of, what do you think, when you think of a company relocating, what do you think are the top things on their list?
Education.
Education, right? What else?
Healthcare.
Healthcare, great. Golf? I'm going to hold that aside, because that is a great, that's really close to what my personal opinion is. What else? housing, shopping, recreation, great electric rates, great workforce. Access, exactly.
Libraries.
Libraries are important. So what we are describing really are communities, right? To me, the number one thing that those companies are looking for is where does the CEO want to live?
Yeah.
I really think it's that simple. We can talk about the margins of what the electric rates are, or what the tax rates are. The tax incentives that are presented to the city, to the companies are very important. They will tip the scales on the locational question. But first and foremost, you have to have a place where the CEO and his corporate team wants to live. And so that includes great housing stock, great golf courses held, great schools. I think those are really the schools, the houses, and the recreational opportunities. Again, in my opinion, talking to folks informally as they're considering relocating, those are the top of the heap. So, you know, again, that's not something you can control overnight, but it is something you can control. We'll talk about how you can influence that in a minute. Another great thing that cities and counties can do, which is what they do best, is targeted infrastructure. And so when we talk about that, we talk about water and sewer, we talk about roads, curb and gutter. I have to tell you, the landscape medians coming in this morning are nicer here than they are in Jacksonville. You've got water and electric in your medians. You've got, they're maintained. There's no trash in them. It's spectacular. That's the kind of infrastructure that you really have to focus on in order to maintain. And that's the thing, one of the things that makes your city attractive. Street lights, you know, you've got here, really interestingly, you've got runways, you've got a port, you've got lots of opportunities to get out on the water. And the investment that you're making right here behind City Hall is exactly the kind of thing that all these experts would say that cities should be doing. And that includes, you know, landscaping and then also demoing when you can, taking down old and derelict buildings. The other strategy that I found that really works well, and this one becomes a little bit more difficult because you have to give up a little bit of yourself. You have to communicate and you have to work with other people. And in my experience, working with other people requires you to give up just a little bit of yourself. You have to make yourself a little bit vulnerable, and that could mean asking for help or admitting that you're not sure exactly what needs to happen. And this is really your leaders and your city council members and your county commissioners that would do this. But you've got to look for other opportunities to partner with folks. So for example, you know, creating a CRA or creating a tax increment district. I'm setting aside the politics. What's happened at Jacksonville Beach as to Duval County is spectacular. Jacksonville Beach about 20 years ago created a CRA, and they capture and hold some of the tax receipts, the incremental tax receipts in Jacksonville Beach that they locally determine how to use. Now, at the time, it was really controversial because Duval, of course, didn't want to give up the tax revenue of Jacksonville Beach. They wanted to control the dollars. Jacksonville Beach said, well, we think we know best how to spend the money. And what's happened, again, this is my opinion, over the long haul, Jacksonville Beach has employed their tax dollars and deployed them in infrastructure that's been remarkable, maybe almost too successful in terms of what's going on in Jacksonville Beach right now. And that benefits everyone. And I won't list all the reasons why, but there's more taxes, there are better schools, there's another attraction that benefits Duval County. And I think sometimes government gets a little too far away from maybe the individual projects. Personally, I think that consolidation in Jacksonville is a ridiculous, terrible idea because it's too far away, the government is too far away from the neighborhoods. In Clay County, it's awesome. You've got Green Cove is its own city, Orange Park is its own city. There are other cities, I'm sure, that are further to the south that people are thinking about creating their own cities. In Broward County, Dade County, you've got 60, 70 cities in each county. Makes it tough to manage, but I think the money is closer to where the people are. And I think that, again, the CRA model is one opportunity. Galvanizing the faith community, maybe not for money, but for time, focusing time on specific projects. The school board, obviously your state government. I don't know if you know, but Rob Bradley, Travis Hudson, the guys that you have in the state legislature right now, are the envy, certainly of North Florida, but probably even throughout the state. Those are guys that know how to work the system and get stuff done. It is remarkable. The folks in Jacksonville, we sometimes come down here and talk to Rob or Travis and try to figure out how they can help us. It's no mistake that a lot of the stuff that the Jaguars do, and this isn't a criticism of the folks in Jacksonville, just people, Rob and Travis know how to get things done. Partnering with them, and I can see you did it just looking at the board next door on that project. The FDOT is another opportunity. FDOT, for example, will help you on landscaping, they may not help you on maintenance. Again, your city manager and all the folks that are on your staff know these already, but again, those are just some more ideas. And then the final thing I would say is regarding development and redevelopment, what entices it, and that is a firm set of standards, and that is people need to know what the rules are. So they need to know where development should go or where it shouldn't go. They should know what intensities should go where, whether you're protecting open space or trying to entice increased development. Obviously supporting walking, biking, public transit, if that's appropriate. And so the overlays that you have here that Janice talked about earlier, the 3 specific areas on 17, 16, and then the Central Business District, those are wonderful, wonderful places, and obviously they've been vetted, there's been public comment, there's been a lot of process around them, and so you have the foundation, I think, for what you need to do in order to keep moving forward. I'll take 2 minutes and just talk about obstacles and then stop talking, but in terms of the obstacles, I think that the main one that I have routinely seen is a lack of leadership, and we all know it when we see it. People that can't make decisions, or there's inconsistent enforcement, or not clear direction. Not having consensus is a really big problem. The amount of public time that you spent on these 3 plans, for example, and it's good that you're refreshing them, but you have to keep people's buy-in so that folks know exactly what's going on. Not having a plan, that's not something that is lacking here, but you have to also continue to work the plan. So you have a plan, you have a process, you have public input, you're refreshing the ideas, and now you have to go out and implement it. And not working it, not working the plan is a tremendous obstacle. So, Mitri, I think? Mitra's like where the rubber meets the road. She has the hardest job there is, maybe except for the school board superintendent or the planning director. Man, her job is to really enforce what's on the books. And so giving her support and her team's support is really critical. And if she's enforcing things that you don't want to be enforced, then change the law, change the rules. But just make sure it applies to everybody equally. And then finally, that predictability is really key. If we don't have predictability in our plans or in our enforcement, it makes it really tough for businesses to develop or redevelop. And appreciate the opportunity. I'm look forward to any questions you might have later.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. We're going to hold the questions to the end. I appreciate it. And I just realized this, I kind of figured everybody knew me, but I'm Janice Fleet. I'm the Development Services Director. That I go all the way from Economic Development, Planning, and Code Enforcement and Building Department all fall under me. And prior to being with the city as a full-time Development Services Director, I've been involved with the city as a consultant, as a private consultant, going back to all these plans to about the late 90s. So I know a lot of you know me, but you might not know who I am, so I appreciate you coming in. Anyways, I'm going to turn the mic to Mr. Audra.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Since Steve has talked a lot, he's a lawyer. And he does use the system that I kind of manage, so I think he's criticizing me enough this morning. But I'm going to try to get directly to a few points so we can get to Q&A. But some of the things that Steve talked about is, for me, it has to deal with vision. What is your actual vision that you want to see take place? And when you determine that, everyone has to buy into it. We can't have some that say, we're supportive of it, but if they just do this. Everyone has to come together and be supportive of that one particular vision. And you've all got to be rowing in the same boat, going in the same direction, and on the same page. If not, it is not going to work. When I came to Jacksonville almost 4 years ago, Steve and I was talking about that. Our city for downtown had, over a 12-year time frame, had about 14 different plans, studies, etc. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna repeat things from the past. What I'm gonna do is take from each of the 12, and we're gonna come up with our vision and our implementation strategy. And it's in the plan. And I can go through that plan right now and check off everything since I've been here that we said we were going to do. I put a check by it because it's been completed. That is the complete transparency with the community that you've done exactly what you said you were going to do. So you have to come to an agreement on what that vision is going to be. And I say this to you, no matter what city I'm in, you can be whatever you want to be, provided you're willing to lead and invest in it. Without those two things, leading and investing in it, you can't be successful unless you do those things. The other thing is you have to stay focused. Listen, in our line of business, there will always be new elected officials, there will always be new administrators. But however, if you have that vision and plan that is in place, that the community agreed to and the community owns, no matter what the transition that takes place, you'll still have that particular plan and still be able to implement it. But the most important piece about that particular plan and vision is you've got to understand what your market is. And Steve hit on that a little bit earlier, but that's the most critical component. I've been in cities and communities, etc., and people will always say, well, I've got this food desert here, etc., and I want Winn-Dixie here, I want Publix here, or this is what we want. But from a real estate market standpoint, Publix may very well be 2 miles away from your particular neighborhood. They're not going to put another store right here just so that you can walk to. Just want to be honest with you. They're going to come, they're going to nod their heads and say thank you, they're going to drink your coffee and eat your food, and they are not going to put a store there. You have to understand your market and go out and attract the businesses that fit your market. The worst thing that we as a city, and I say this within Jacksonville, everyone says, well, we don't want to be Miami, we don't want to be Orlando, we don't want to be Tampa. You're right, because we're not going to be. I'm just going to be quite frank about it. We will not be. Nor should we strive to do just that, because we are a different region. So understand your region, understand your market, understand what works well for your clientele, and make sure you get that type of retail here. Because remember, it's not those that just drive through 17 all the time, sometimes. It's those that drive on 17 all the time that are going to be your particular customer base, and that's you, okay? So if they don't have what you're actually looking for and you got to drive somewhere else to get it, that's a problem. So understanding your market is the key critical component to actually having success along any particular retail corridor. What's going to be your strategy? Will you invest in public infrastructure? That's a public debate that you have to have. Will there be other incentives beyond public infrastructure improvements? Will you do, as you indicated earlier, facade, landscape grants? In downtown Jacksonville, I've had to come in and do some retail because we have older buildings within downtown. And those historic buildings, I'm looking at least a cost of $50 to $65 per square foot to renovate that space in those old historic buildings. There is no financial institution, I used to run one in North Carolina, that's going to lend you money for tenant improvement costs for you to open up a business as an entrepreneur there. The landlord is only going to put up so much money for tenant improvement costs, and you, the prospective business owner, only have but so much money that you want to put towards tenant improvement costs, because you need as much money as you possibly can have for operating expenses once you actually get a business up and running. So as a city, you can have the public debate and make a decision if you want to create what I call in some cities a retail enhancement program, where if I know that it's really $50 a square foot to renovate a space, I may be willing to set forth money. And then out of that pot of money, we're willing to invest up to $25 per square foot of leased space for the particular business owner. Now, I'm not trying to come in and get your furniture, fixtures, and things of that nature. I'm trying to do your plumbing, your electrical, HVAC, etc. Because if your business is unsuccessful, I need the space still ready to be utilized for some other business that could actually come in. So you can set parameters with regards to how to invest that money into that particular space in order to get the business there. There may be a conversation that you may want to have with regards to, you can't do pure tax abatement here in the state of Florida. But what we have and what we utilize sometimes what we call a revenue enhancement grant, which means, let's just say your tax bill hypothetically is $100,000 a year on that particular property. We may sit down and negotiate that after you pay your taxes for that particular year, that we're able to flow back maybe 50% of that tax payment back to you to help you as you're investing in that particular business. And we may agree that that's going to be 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. So that's going to help you make some business decisions, particularly in the large scale retailers and things of nature that you're trying to bring in, about how to help them from a taxation standpoint, where you don't have the actual cash up front to put into the deal, but if they pay the tax, then you would actually have money. And that's something for you to actually consider also. I'm going to switch over to obstacles. An inefficient approval process is the quickest deterrent to anyone being able to do business with you. You know, I'm critical of what we do as an organization. You know, Steve uses our system, and I try to be upfront with him and say, hey, listen, I got 3 to 5 projects in front of your particular project right now. This is when I think I can get to you, and this is when I think I can give you an approval, and this is when I think I can get it to the board, and hopefully get it approved. That allows him to tell his client exactly what's the time frame. The easiest way for someone to say, I don't want to do business with you, is they don't get a quick answer and understanding of what their process is going to take. Time is money. The answer of maybe is a no. I'm just telling you that right now. If somebody tells you maybe, it's a no, so you're gonna move on. So that's why you have to clearly stick to your approval process, let people know firmly when you're trying to move something forward, and as an implementer, an administrator, if you say you're going to do it, then we'll try to get it done, and if you can't, pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, Steve, I can't get this done right now, and here are the reasons why. That begins to build trust, because you can have only one opportunity to lose the public's trust, and when you do that, everything else is downhill from there. I don't care what you do from there, I don't care how well you are at it, they will always remember that one time that you did keep your promise and you did communicate with them. So that lines of communication are huge if you're going to be successful in this particular process. So I think I've kind of covered what I feel like entices people and some of the things that you need to do on your particular side, and that approve the obstacle is clearly always the review process itself. And if you find yourself in the negotiation phases of actual deals, you know, upfront entrepreneurs, business owners, developers, etc., they're going to all know this. They're always going to come in and ask for everything. You know, he does it to me all the time. But we have very good give and takes in terms of, I can't live with that. but I can live with this if you can get your client to live with it. And if we can do that, then we can find an actual deal and be able to move forward. You have to put on your best strategic negotiation skills in order to do this type of work. And as I always tell the people, I'm not in the business to maximize your rate of return. I'm in the business to make sure that I am most efficient at getting you through the approval process. And if we have to put in public infrastructure, work with administrators to get the public infrastructure in place. And if we have to incentivize the deal beyond that, then I need to look at it in terms of what's going to help you get this deal to this particular level. Don't come in and ask me for a project and you got a developer's fee already written in, and then you're looking for, on top of that, another particular percentage rate on return on your investment also. That ain't my problem, you know, but what we are trying to do is entice that business to get here. And the least amount that we have to put in to make you comfortable to actually get the deal is where we're gonna be on the actual public sector side. It's a give and take on both sides, but you have to work together in order to get there. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker, and one of the things is, he's with Clay County, but I know that a lot of you got mailers, and it goes out more than the corporate limits of the city of Green Cove Springs. And all we have control over, we being the city, is within the city limits. So that's what we're focusing on. Otherwise, you can, and I know I was at a meeting the other night, our Perth County Commissioner kind of got hit up on other things. But we're really focusing on what is in the city of Green Cove Springs. So thank you. And Mr. Garrett.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Janice, for inviting me to participate. I just want to start off by saying what a privilege and an honor it is to be at the table with these two guys. Andre Wallace, I just met Steve this morning, but I've done some research on him. You can't ask for more experience and more knowledge to be presented to you this morning. I'm going to bring a little bit of a different perspective. I'm a long-term resident of Clay County. I've been here since 1985. I moved here from the west side of Jacksonville. My dad's retired from the Navy. And like a lot of people, that's how we ended up here in this area. I have been actively involved in civic affairs since almost the day I moved here. I'm president of our local community association and involved in, just a typical concerned citizen. Anything that was going on in my community, I wanted to be a part of it. And a few years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, we implemented an overlay plan in Clay Hill. I live in Clay Hill. If you're not familiar with the communities in the northwest corner of the county, it's a blue-collar working class community. And what I noticed was that the development that was happening was, don't mean to be judgmental or pejorative in any of these words that I use, but it was kind of low-end development. Very generic, metal buildings, one after another, and had no character whatsoever. The community itself, Clay Hill, is a rural agriculture type community, and we were becoming concerned about it, the people on our community association. And so about that time, they were beginning to implement something called master plans in Brandonfield and Oakley. And we said, we could become involved in something like this. So I approached the county commission at that time and said, hey, let us get through this process, and then we'll talk to you about it. And they did. A few years later, we got involved, and we created an overlay plan in Clay Hill, and it addresses 4 things: signage, lighting, architectural standards, and outside storage, screening of outside storage, the things that we felt like that would kind of help preserve the community. It was not without some controversy. One county commissioner in particular was not happy about it at all, but we had the votes. We got 3-2 on it, or 3-1 actually, and it passed. If we took that plan and threw it in the trash today and threw our standards away, we would not attract a single business from that. What draws my opinion in the 5 years that I've been in this position of economic development and just, I think, a little bit of common sense, what attracts businesses are customers. People there to spend money and to buy things, particularly in a community like this where we're talking about along the main corridor, we're talking about primarily retail type businesses. So in terms of standards, I think they're important. I believe that you want to preserve the integrity of the community that you have, And so you need some sort of standards. They need to be modest, they need to be specific, address certain things, and there needs to be room for compromise. Both of these gentlemen mentioned that earlier. I have had the opportunity, so I've spent 25 years in the development business, real estate agent, home builder, that kind of thing. Dealt with every sort of regulation and agency that you could think of, everything from building permits to zoning, architectural guidelines, all that stuff. So I've had to deal with that stuff firsthand. If a business wants to go into a community, the standards are not going to prevent that. There may be some frustration from it, but I'll just give you two examples, here in Clay County and here in the region. Think of the most valuable property in Clay County, other than waterfront property. I'm talking about commercial property. What part of the county is it in? It's in Fleming Island. Who has the highest standards for development? Fleming Island. Regionally, same thing across the river. Where's the most valuable property in the region? St. Johns County. Who has the highest impact fees? Who has the highest development standards? St. Johns County. I'm not suggesting that high, difficult standards create commercial growth, but I am suggesting that strong standards do not deter commercial growth. People go where they want to go. They want to go to a community that they find attractive, that has recreational resources they need, that sort of thing. In terms of attracting businesses, the thing that attracts businesses, I can tell you from doing this for a few years now, there are two main things that attract businesses: workforce and real estate. Everything else pales in comparison. There is a long list of things that they look at: education, libraries, parks, all this sort of stuff. But you have to have a building to work out of, you have to have some real estate, and you have to have employees to work there. So those are the two key things you need to focus on, in my opinion, and that's what we focus on in the county. Trying to be aware of the real estate options and develop those real estate options. And a more difficult thing to develop is a workforce. And we have specific initiatives that we're working on right now with the school system, St. John's River State College, to try to create a better workforce. In this community, one of the things that you have the beginnings of, and we're trying to promote it a little bit more, is this, I don't know, everybody's sick of hearing the word millennial, but it's a fact. We need younger, more educated people to move into the community. And you need to promote those businesses and those institutions that do attract those kind of things. Again, I just wanted, my perspective is as a concerned citizen. I've been involved for over 30 years here in Clay County. I've seen these kind of processes work. They take time. I can tell you there's no such thing as an easy answer. We're not going to come up with one thing that makes Green Coat Springs just pop. Been in the development business a long time, so I've seen it, worked around it. It's a fact of life. You can't just throw the building department out. You can't just throw these standards away. You don't want the results of that. Vision is the other word I've heard a couple times. You have to have a vision. You have to have a plan. And we have that. You guys have that. The county has it. And we're going through that process. If you don't know, the county is in the process of updating its comprehensive plan, and you should be involved. They solicit your input. And so share. If you're frustrated with something, if you don't like certain regulations, the only way to change it is let somebody know about it. And that process is ongoing right now. I agree with the strategic planning comments. We have a strategic plan. Like Andre, I showed up on the job, bookcase, 15, 18 different strategic plans that have been prepared over the years. Why are we going to go and do another one? Well, everybody wants another plan. They want the most recent updated plan. Fine, let's go do it. Hired a consultant. I felt like we probably were better served to do it ourselves. Everybody wants to pay a consultant. No problem. Let's go get a consultant. But when that plan comes back to you, it's up to everybody to implement that plan. I have a poster made with my 5 strategies, sits right by my desk. I look at it every single day. I make a monthly report to my board. This is what we're doing on these things. We're about 14 months into it. We're going to throw one off and add some more. We're tweaking that plan. You have to know where you're going. You have to have a roadmap. And again, not suggesting we don't, but be true to it. Work it. Steve mentioned some large companies. We have some large companies here. We're doing a fairly decent job of attracting some. Everybody's familiar with Batcon, long-term company here in the community. Very successful. They just did a $10 million enhancement down there. They're going to continue to invest more money. We were successful in recruiting a publicly traded company or an international company down south of town, Calavo. They came to town. 300 employees is what they committed to. They've recently increased that to 500 employees. So attracting new companies is critical, without a doubt. Forterra is breathing new life into the Hanson Pipe facility south of town. And of course, the Clay County School Board is a major employer here in Green Cove Spring with over 5,000 employees. A few more comments and then we'll get to the Q&A part of it. Steve talked about headquarters and the CEO wanted to live in that vicinity. And I'll tell you a story that there was a company here in Clay County, 2G Synergy was created right here in Orange Park. The company moved to St. Johns County because the CEO's wife wanted to live near St. Augustine. And so for that reason, we lost a really good manufacturing company that was producing building generators. The company's grown, it's since been sold. But there's a classic example of that comment about the CEO and his wife tells the CEO where he wants to live. Moving to St. Augustine. And we took the opportunity to go to the gentleman, Mike, I can't think of his last name, Michael. We went, myself, Travis Cummings, Stephanie Papalousis, Holly Parrish, we went and sat down with him. Why are you leaving? Why are you leaving Clay County? And the answer will not surprise anybody in this room. We said, please be candid, be honest with us. We're trying to learn. You're not going to hurt our feelings. Well, I don't know how to say this, but Clay County it's a little too redneck. And I thought, and we all did. We all. And so we have to promote the culture that we have. We have to demonstrate. We have to break that brand. Landscape, I just want to comment on the landscape. As you come into 17 off of 295, you'll see the FDOT investing money in landscaping, palm trees, that sort of stuff. It's literally transforming how that corridor looks. It's important. And again, I don't think those things happen without standards, without motivation to improve our surroundings. Everybody knows what that little section looks like without that stuff. Look how much better it looks right now. Compromise. You have to compromise. I have a strong opinion. You have a strong opinion. If we're going to sit here and argue about it all day, we're never going anywhere. We have to kind of find that sweet spot in the middle. Visionary leaders. I did a lot of research. Just a little intimidated to be on this panel with these guys this morning, so I did a lot of research. And one of the things that they recommend is appointing and elected visionary leaders. Listen to what people, listen to what they're saying when they're running for office, and vote for the people that are supporting your vision. In terms of obstacles, the government may or may not. I personally think Clay County has a very business-friendly government. When I was in the building business, I had opportunity to work with every county around here. Clay County by far has the most business-friendly government around. If you want to hop across the river, you want to find about bureaucracy, all you got to do is go over to St. Augustine and you can get all the bureaucracy you want. And the last few things I'll say in terms of attracting people, you have to market. You have to go tell people about it, or what you're doing, what's going on here in Clay County, what's going on here in Green Cove Springs. I hope, and I'm looking forward, I will definitely be here when that pool opens up over there. But we collectively, we are Kimberly Morgan with the Tourism Department, we need to do everything we can to tell everybody in Northeast Florida about that event and bring them down here. I remember when Andre and Ted Carter came down a couple of years ago. Of course, Andre's not from the area, nor Ted, but they weren't familiar with Green Cove Springs, and we thought, band said, hey, let's drive them by and show them the park. Figured it'd be a little 2 or 3 minute deal. We got out and they spent 30 minutes walking around just marveling at what a beautiful park it is. And so that thing is, to me, the jewel of Green Cove Springs, and we need to do everything we can to market it. And again, thank you, Janice, for the invitation. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for our panel. I really appreciate them giving up their Saturday morning. And, they are experts in the field, so I appreciate it. I've known some of these people Steve a long time. We've been friends a long time in the planning world, so I think I made it difficult to come in on Saturday morning, but I appreciate it. And Andre and Bill, I can always count on Bill when we work together on this. What we'd like to do now is with 2 things. We want to, any questions you have of the panel, I'm going to see they're here, and then any comments. This is not a, it's just get your ideas from what they said, what your thoughts are. We'll write them up. And then, as I said, we'll come back to the council. We are recording this meeting just to make it easier, actually because we have more than 2 council people here, and they're gonna eventually be voting on it. So in the sunshine, we have to record the meeting, which we are. And we also have a tape that eventually, I guess, we'll put on our website of this meeting. But we do that, so we ask anybody to talk to please come to the mic, so that we can hear you and the recorder can take care of it. So, we're basically opening up, we're right out of time. My hope was to start this
Do you want me to do that when you write?
yeah, that'd be fine.
We can talk about this. I'm sorry.
You'll have to, whatever questions you have, you'll have to come up to the mic and ask the question, and Janice will write it down, and I will just pass the microphone along. Okay? Who would like to be first? Okay.
I'll break the ice.
Name and address for the record, right?
John Whiteman, 723 North Magnolia Avenue, Grove Springs. I've heard, and this is hearsay, and I know Steve knows what hearsay is, and it may not be accurate, but I've heard that there's been several businesses that have attempted to locate in the corridor that have had problems at the building department or the zoning department with regards to getting approval. And it's because of the nature of the building. I heard there was one person wanted to put in a gun shop, another person wanted to put in a sale of ATVs, and within the corridor. And those didn't fit the plan for the types of businesses or the uses that would be in the corridor. My own personal opinion is that rather than the type of business, other than tattoo parlors and things like that, it should be more flexible. There should be more flexibility as to the use and control the appearance, the aesthetics. Because you could have a gun shop that has a very nice business, it has nice landscaping, it has everything done correctly, and it looked good. It could look good. My other concern is, we talk about our vision, and our vision may be that we want a Hilton Hotel on 17. We're going to have to take baby steps to get to that Hilton Hotel, and the first occupier of that land may not be a Hilton Hotel, but we get something a little bit better, and then maybe the next occupier something a little bit better, and we take baby steps in reaching our ultimate vision.
Thank you. Okay, our city manager wants to address the gun shop issue.
Thank you. I think that happened about 24 months ago, and that was an error. They were given the wrong information in terms of zoning. Our code, since even before I've been here, which is 6 years in running, it clearly states gun sales within that corridor. Thank you.
Next, Sheriff Diesler.
I'm a recovering politician, so you have to give me the hook. Rick Diesler, 302 St. John's Avenue. I'm a lifelong resident of Green Cove Springs. Love this community, will be here forever. So I have a lot of historical perspective on business and what we've done. These 3 gentlemen here today, I agree with everything they said. They're a wealth of knowledge. Each one of them covered different things that really, what I'm going to say, I think will, every one of you, when you said something, that's exactly the point I want to make, is, and I echo what this gentleman just said, about 5 or 6 years ago when the Gateway Corridor plan was put into place, I think it's done some good things to beautify our city. But I'm a commercial property owner on US 17, and twice in the last 4 years, I've had trouble renting my property to businesses that came in because they wanted to open up something that was not exactly, it didn't fit into the Gateway Corridor plan because it had outside display of merchandise. Now the city did grant exceptions to that, and we were able to rent the building and get an automobile dealership to locate in there. However, I think sometimes having to come and get an exception is an impediment. One of the gentlemen said that a maybe is a no when you're trying to open a business. That's true. And someone might decide, well, we'll go somewhere else that's a little bit easier. I've looked at the ordinance, and it did have some provisos in there about outside display of merchandise. I think I've appeared 3 times before the city council asking that the council look at maybe tweaking the language just a little bit to allow some of the businesses to come into these vacant pieces of property on US 17 that have weeds growing up through the pavement and really don't look that good. For example, we've got a whole city block now where Brown Cartwright hardware store moved out of town. If under our current ordinance, let's say Tractor Supply wanted to open up there, they have outdoor displays of merchandise. I would love to see a Tractor Supply fill that block, and I'm sure the city would grant an exception. But one of the gentlemen also said, you have to have a plan, you have to stick to it. So if you're giving exceptions all the time in order to get someone to come in and open up a business, that's not a good plan. So my request would be that we look at and this is 5 years, look at this ordinance. And the beautification part of it, I got no problem with. I think everything needs to be pretty. And you can do that with a gun shop or a car dealership or whatever. But I think we should look at relaxing some of the standards that were put into place, because I think the vision was at the time, let's have boutiques and tea rooms and coffee shops and stuff like that. And that's all great, but this is a rural community. We need to be able to buy tractor supplies. We need a feed store. We need things that now I have to go to Blanding Boulevard or Orange Park, whatever, to buy that. Just like the gentleman also said, you have to look at your community and look at what the needs are here. And I think we're keeping some businesses out of our community that should be here because of the onerous requirements of this ordinance that I would love to see our council members address and maybe relax just a little bit. Still keep our standards high, but allow, let's have a can-do attitude. Instead of when you walk in and say we want to open a business, here's 5 reasons why we can't do it. Let's have 5 reasons why we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff. And by the way, because of requests by different citizens, that's one of the reasons that we're having this meeting, so that we can listen and hear what people want, and that's why we're all here, for the very reason that Sheriff Beasler just talked about.
Sheriff, I just want to make sure you're fine, you really are looking at the uses.
Pardon me?
The uses that we allow.
Talking about uses, not
Okay.
standards.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Baum.
Afternoon, my name is Edward Gaw. I reside on Elmore Street. And in 2013, we moved a large distribution business from Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, Broward County, up to Green Cove Springs. All 7 families that were working with the company then sold houses in Broward and moved into Green Cove Springs. So we are the embodiment of what we talk about here today. More of a comment than anything else, if I could. I wrote it down.
Right ahead. We don't have limits on time today, so go right ahead.
This council has a difficult job of navigating the many possible futures of the city of Green Cove Springs. Due consideration for a rich past, changing present, and a future rich with possibilities combined to create a tough act to balance. My compliments to the members of the board and boards past for creating the framework necessary for manufacturing a future that plays to all of Green Cove's strengths. My daddy always preached, plan your dive, dive your plan. Past councils have deliberated and debated the specifics of and plans for the Golden Corridor. As their duties demanded, they did this with the city and its citizens' interests foremost in the process. The Golden Corridor is Green Cove's public face. As such, the establishment of specific zoning and planning requirements for these designated areas were meant to elevate the appearance of the area as well, the appearance of the area as a whole and these properties individually. There are very few municipalities that don't impose some type of limitation and restrictions within their bounds. Prohibitions by industry type, segregation between light and heavy industrial, noise, specific building requirements, to name a few. In the community's interest, these legislative codes preserve and heighten the local appearance and protect the people of Green Cove through traffic safety and quality of life. I get that these same rules impose a burden on the affected property owners. Stricter building requirements and industry-specific limitations may be seen at first to limit the universal potential of buyers. But today we are rather fortunate. The economy continues to improve, evidenced by robust sales and perhaps more germane, greatly improved property appreciation. So while some lament the tighter regulatory requirements on their property, these complaints are mitigated by the passage of time and the improvement that it brings. 2 stories. And I haven't really heard that much about it here today, but the First Coast Expressway. We have a distribution company. That First Coast Expressway is a game changer, and it represents speed to Green Cove. So it can't be argued that the First Coast Expressway and its promise has and will continue to influence the value of these properties. Additionally, and this one just revealed itself within the last couple of weeks, as a business owner in Green Cove and these properties now have fiber optic availability. Years ago, and just a simple aside, when we moved to Green Cove out of Broward, if you had moved your business to Broward County, you would pick up the phone, you would call Comcast, and it would be there the next day, high-speed internet and telephone. Purchased the building up off the harbor, picked up the phone the next day and went, we need internet and we need phone. 3 months.
Amen.
3 months. Different day. Now, these properties their value is heightened by the availability of fiber optic. Speed is coming to Green Cove in a very fast fashion. So access to advanced communications and internet speed significantly increases the values and expands the buyer pool for properties preserved by tighter zoning and beneficiaries of a little planning. We currently have a fairly well thought out, well vetted, and defended planning and zoning code for the Building Corridor. As we have seen recently, this code includes the possibility of exceptions that grant exemptions to the code. I would contend that this is exactly the wrong time to be lowering our standards. In light of the current state of the economy, robust appreciation, and greater area infrastructure improvements, we must be careful of the future we wish for. It would be difficult to find a more fortunate area in Florida or the Southeast. My particular Green Cove future includes the possibility of a half-a-mile fishing and walking pier over the St. Johns, just north of the new First Coast Expressway Bridge, connected by a bike trail to the Port of Green Cove and its new trove of restaurants and attractions, within a walking trail to the improved Spring Park, all wrapped up within a vibrant First Coast Expressway. These codes preserve our ability to honor our past, maintain our present flexibility, and deliver a more prosperous future for all the citizens of Green Cove. We all understand that Green Cove is changing, but it's the rate of change that most demands our attentions. We have planned our dive, let's dive our plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Holman. I live at 3290 Byron Road, Green Cove Springs. For you guys that don't know, I am a business owner and I am looking to come to Green Cove. I'm currently under contract to buy the Fred Davis dealership. Some of the things I ran into that I wanted to address is the doors that face Green Cove. You know, and I guess it's maybe aesthetics, I don't really know. But when I came to the meeting, everybody's biggest concern was a body shop, the noise from my body shop. We build hot rods, restore cars, you know, things like that. Everybody stood up here, noise, 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 that's all I heard. Well, all the doors face a busy road. Now I'm gonna turn around, I'm gonna face them to all the people that live back here. These are the kind of rules that, you know, that make it difficult. It's gonna cost me $40,000 or more to move these doors. We even offered to, you know, put up a fence so, you know, you couldn't see the doors. Things like that would help. I'm all for the looks of it. The shrubbery, the greenery, I want it to be. We work on expensive cars, $300,000-$400,000 cars, very expensive cars. So, you know, I don't want somebody pulling up to, you know, something that costs, their car costs more than my shop, you know. And I wanted the people to have the, you know, the look of it to fit their car. And so I'm all for the looks of things and to keep it up and keep Green Cove looking the way everybody else wants it. But some of the laws have made it tough for us. I mean, we're coming in and spending $1.4 million on renovating this place, and it's a lot of money. It's more money than I've ever spent. And things like that do make it tough. You know, the doors facing forward made it tough. You know, some of the stuff that we had to go through, you know, to get there. No, everybody worked with us, and I heard from all the officials and stuff. And like I said, after we got through our, you know, the first step and we got everything approved, But like I said, some of the stuff, no outside displays, as Rick said. We work on, again, expensive cars. One of my customers is a land developer. He has $1 million boat. It's a 4,000 horsepower, 200-mile-an-hour boat. We work on this boat. When I drive this boat down the road, people, it's like trailer and Elvis. People clap, take pictures, they flip out of it. And I said something about, well, if that sat out front of the shop while we weren't working on it, just what it would attract. Oh, can't have no outside displays. We have some of the cars, we had talked about putting in front of the shop, maybe a nice concrete pad, shrubbery around it, mulch, and putting we have a '69 Camaro we built. It's a $150,000 car, no outside display. We're not talking about putting an old car on blocks out front. People want to see that. Whether you like cars or not, most people can appreciate old cars. So those are some of the things that I think, like, Rick said, we can tweak and make those things. I don't want to spend the money that I'm spending on this place and fix it up, and then go and let somebody put something next door to me that is a dive. So again, I think it's give and take on a little bit of this stuff. So that was it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Kolsky, 723 North Magnolia. I think I've been here about 7 years. I'm from Miami-Dade County and Broward County, daughter of a developer. My question is, your wife is Deborah? Deborah Gano? No? Okay, what I'm wondering, I thought I knew his wife, but I'm going to address with his comment. How do we get people that are dropping their cars off at his place, or other people that drive their children to the schools here from Fleming Island, how do we get them to stop? And when you're in a gym class and you say, I live in Green Cove, people look at you like, whoa, you live in Green Cove? And it all has to do with this corridor coming down 17. We have a lot of people, old school, who grew up here. They don't want the town to change. This is what they're used to seeing. I'm from Broward County. It's lush landscaping. It's beautiful. And I know asking a business to put a lot of money into landscaping is hard. But if we're going to come into the future, how do we get the moms that are driving down 17 to stop? Retail's dead. I can order anything I want to my door. So how do we get people to stop at restaurants? How do we get people to stop at his auto place? How do we get the gentleman who's dropping that boat off, how do we get his wife to go, I want to look at this town. What can I buy here? What can we buy? And then once his wife turns that corner, once that woman turns the corner, how do we make her want to drive down Magnolia Avenue, where she doesn't see people's houses and go, I'm not living next to that. I don't want that in my front yard. And I'm not talking about a business, I'm talking about people having some pride. And if we want our prices, our house values to go up, and we want this vision to happen, we all, has, Mr. Andre?
Yes.
We all have to have the same vision. We all have to work to this together with zoning and understanding that things are going to change. But I want his people to start looking at moving to our community. So that's what my thing was, that we need to come into the 21st century. And we need to realize that broken down lots look like broken down lots. And we look like a bunch of rednecks. And I don't mean that insult, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but you know what I mean.
Thank you. I'm going to have the panel address your, that's a good broad statement.
Yes, it's a broad statement. First, as Bill indicated, standards are not bad. However, we have to, as a community, as I indicated earlier, have the same shared vision. And it sounds like there's a conversation that needs to be had amongst you all as a community about what's the vision. And that's where you all have to start first. Compromise and respect the only way that you're gonna get to the actual vision. So I have to, because there will be people that will say, as the gentleman, as the sheriff indicated, we need to be able to have the feed stores, we need to be able to have the ability for tractor display. He's not saying anything different than the gentleman who just indicated about the $150,000 Camaro and the, whatever the number was on the boat, in terms of being a magnet along the actual corridor for people to come there. But it does get down to what is the aesthetic appeal going to look like along the actual corridor, and that's a conversation that you all have to have amongst yourselves. But I know this, it can all work collectively, provided that you work collectively together to come up with those decisions and work with the administration to get there.
The outside storage issue is one that I deal with routinely in Jacksonville as well. I would say the biggest, and I just have to say this from a planning perspective, the word exception is really a misnomer. It's not an exception to the plan. It's not an exception to the rule. I don't know why that word was chosen, but what an exception is under Florida law is that if you meet the criteria, you are allowed to have that use by right. So, and when you go in front of a judge and you litigate it, exceptions are treated very differently from rezonings or from variances. So I would just say, don't get caught up on the word exception. It's not an exception to the plan. You can have a common vision with a list of exceptions, which someone needs to come up with a better word, but conditional use is another great term. Thank you, Steve. That if you meet certain conditions, then you're allowed to have that use by right. So outside storage is a great example, and typically there are standards surrounding what type of equipment is stored, what type of landscaping or buffering requirements are required. And if you do all those things, then you're allowed to have the use. You still have to go get someone to check the box in the government to say you meet the requirements. But it is an exception, a zoning exception or a conditional use is closer to a permitted use than if you're doing a whole rezoning. You're still consistent with the plan.
I don't know that I have a whole lot to add to that. I'm kind of curious, the lady that just spoke, you said you've been here about 7 years. What brought you to Greenville?
I was living in Broward County, and when I went to purchase a house, the prices were so insane. I ended up in Oakley, which was a terrible, terrible mistake. Horrible. And my husband, on the way home one night, stopped at Starbucks to get coffee, went, "This looks really great," and made a turn. And we spent the next 3 months going up and down the streets looking for a home. We found a historic home, and we fell in love with the area. And that's what brought me up here, that and the taxes. And now I would like to see my property values go up. I would like to flourish.
I'm just curious why, and just to comment on, Clay County is a very diverse county in terms of housing choices. I promise you there are thousands and thousands of people who love Oakland. Where I live, a lot of people, are you kidding me? They would drive through and think, who would live here? I love living here. So I wouldn't be too quick to say what's good and what's bad. What appeals, I guess my point is, different things appeal to different people. And so identifying the things that you're trying to sell, trying to market, that's what needs to happen.
It was that, it was the river.
Right, exactly. So I say you have these great assets.
And the same thing.
And Van Royal is on my board of directors, and he knows how hard we work to sell the entire county. And you identify those sweet spots, those assets that somebody would like to live near or live around, and you go out and you market it. I do think that the entire county, and possibly you guys know better than I, the city has an opportunity to do more marketing, to do better marketing, to let people know what's going on here. Like I said, once you stop, that's a great question. How can we make people stop to go into Spring Park Coffee? Nobody wants to go to Starbucks anymore. Go to Spring Park Coffee and learn to love Green Cove like you guys do.
Hi, my name is Colleen Rourke, and I reside at 3969 Susan Drive. Fairly new to the area. My husband Robert and I moved up here about 2 years ago from Miami. Born and raised Floridian, lived in Miami the majority of our lives. And in case you asked, what attracted us to the area was we initially came up for the schools in St. Johns County. At the time when I came up, I was a realtor. Came across the bridge to show some property over here in Green Cove and just happened to fall into a sweet deal on the river and purchased a foreclosure. It's a dream. Thought we could never do it, and we did, and we actually do like it here very much. We received a postcard in the mail, thought let's come and see. We have no idea what this meeting's about. We missed the first 10 minutes, so unfortunately we probably didn't hear a little bit about what you presented. So I hope I'm not misstating something or going into something you've already covered. But we've talked a lot about, in order to attract people to our city, in my opinion, the city needs to be attractive. So as I drive through here, I've lived in many beautiful areas all throughout the city of Miami. And there are certain things here about Green Cove that are very attractive. It's the historical features of the area. It's the parks. I feel like I'm back in Miami, back in the 60s and 70s, of what it used to look like. And that is what attracts people here. But when you drive down the corridor of 17, there are a lot of dilapidated buildings, as you mentioned, grass growing up through the sidewalks. I think, honestly, we've talked a lot about standards and how we need to follow them. But I think the city needs to do their part as well. You're asking the business owners to do it or the people that are coming into the city to do it. I think the city needs to do the same. So are we executing on them as a city? I think that we need to look at what's out there and we need to kind of clean that up a little. And I think it probably takes a lot of the townsfolk to do that. And maybe I'm raising my hand, but I think it's something we need to focus on. The one thing I wanted to ask about, may not be the place for it, but the pier, the Shands Pier. Through the storm, it was destroyed. Through that destruction, our docks and our bulkheads were destroyed. We haven't come forth and asked the city to do anything about it. However, I am curious about what's going to happen with the old Shands Bridge. It was a great place for kids to fish, for people to go, to enjoy, to walk down the street. I don't know if you want to address that before I get to something else.
Well, that's county property, and it's not city property. And I'll let County Commissioner Sella talk to you about that. And after the meeting, you can talk to Commissioner Sella. He's an expert.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was destroyed in the hurricane.
Right,
So.
right.
And we have some FEMA issues.
If there are plans to rebuild it. I think that's the big question. Or what I've heard, we're holding off because of the First Coast Expressway.
And I'll say something a little bit about the First Coast Expressway.
Okay, and that is a question. What is happening and where can we meet to get information on the First Coast Expressway?
Oh, here's our First Coast Expressway.
Well, I'm certainly not the expert, but we will have a team of experts. This is open to anybody and everybody on May the 16th. I'm not sure, so Tuesday, maybe on May the 16th, 8:30 a.m. at the Thrasher Horn Conference Center. We're holding our second annual First Coast Expressway Summit. Representatives from the county, from FDOT, Expressway Authority, and the chief engineering firm, Reynolds Smith and RSNA, are going to be there making a presentation. There's no charge to attend. So May the 16th, Thrasher Horn Conference Center, 8:30 to 10. And you will hear and be able to ask every question of true experts on the First Coast Expressway. Just a real brief comment about it. The first phase is winding up from I-10 down to State Road 21, Blanding Boulevard there in Middleburg. The next phase is already funded for construction. It's scheduled to start in early 19, calendar year 19, January, February, March, spring of 2019. And I'm not sure the schedule to get it over to Green Cove, but it's coming from Middleburg to Green Cove Springs, probably 3 years or so, Dan, would you guess? So it will be complete to Green Cove Springs 5 or 6 years from now. And that may sound like a long time, but in this room, 5 or 6 years is not a long time at all. And you will have an interstate less than a mile south of town. And as Ed mentioned, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it earlier, I had it in my notes, the First Coast Expressway is transforming Clay County. And what it's going to do to Green Cove Springs is, we can't even hardly imagine what it's going to do to this area. So something we need to plan about, but May 16th is get all your questions answered there.
Okay, just one you may be able to answer today, and it might be a selfish question because of my location. Is it going north of the bridge or south of the bridge?
In terms of crossing the river, I don't.
South.
It's going to be pretty much near.
Only about 100 yards.
Right, and it's going to be pretty much where the Shands Bridge is, so apparently south.
And it will stay, the lakes we built on the north side of 16, the road itself will stay on the right side of 16, if it goes as proposed. Now, right now, the question is the bridge is not funded. So the connection right now is supposedly going to be to the existing Shands. The hope is that they'll fund that before they get to making that decision, and they'll be able to just tie it into what will now be the new bridge.
Thank you. And last question, I don't know if this is for us here today, but the roads in Green Cove, is that to this board?
That are the roads that are in our city limits.
That are in our city limits. Just seems like we have a lot of roads that have a lot of potholes and a lot of repair that needs to be done. So I think that's something we need to focus on and address as well.
Thank you very much. I would like to say that the First Coast Expressway is an extremely important transportation link that this part of the county has been missing. It is going to connect I-10 to I-95, and it's very important to this area. Next. You're next, I promise.
I'll be shorter than I normally am. Dan Royal, 3688 Acosta Court. My wife and I have been here now, worked here 30 years, lived here for 28 years.
He's also on our city council.
So we've seen a lot of changes. Let me address two things. One, being a realtor, as you all know, let's talk about property value, just so everybody understands. So last year, the property valuation of the county rose about 4.7%. Orange Park rose about 5.1%. Green Cove Springs, property value, tax collector valuation is 8.1%. It's the largest in the county. There are a lot of people trying to get in here. You cannot go on the MLS system and rent a home in Green Cove Springs for less than $1,200. And it's hard to find housing right now. It's hard to, there's just not a lot of houses for sale. And as I rode around trying to find yard sales today at Magnolia Point, they're getting fewer and fewer as far as build out. So the city itself is going to find itself actually with a housing shortage, I believe, sooner than before. Let me tell you one other story, and this goes to the changes that come up. And a great example of that was in Jacksonville the other day, because there was a nice article about breweries and how downtown and where it's going and things change. And a perfect example is the finest coffee shop in not Northeast Florida, the state of Florida, is Spring Park Coffee. And I remember when it was a Starbucks, it was great. And then we turned it into a coffee shop. And now in the Central Business District, they not only do that, but they grind and roast and grind coffee, which, 10 years ago was not in use. May still not be in use. And they distribute, because Steve's grown that operation so big, they distribute to other places, so there's wholesale distribution, which is not. So there's things in our own codes that would typically prohibit businesses like that from growing. So we need to be organic when we talk about how things change, or whether a brewery comes and looks at Green Cove Springs and where it would be and how it would be located. These are things that I hope that we can all work as a community together to find that vision, that here's where it's going to be, recognizing the fact that we can make them nice. Because I can remember when Garber Ford was the ViStar. And ViStar has done a very nice job of what they've done. I can remember when Michelle and Todd took over Ronnie Robinson's old Jeep place, and it's turned that into a great place with a wonderful deli, office place and all that. And I can darn sure remember when we took this old Chevrolet dealership and turned it into the supervised elections building. In each of those cases, we found uses, whether it was government or business or whatever, that worked. I can tell you this, these all took place even during the time of 2009, not ViStar was earlier, but from 2009 when we had the recession until now. We're going to see changes. Paul's business is going to be a great change for Green Cove Springs. It's going to look at that corridor, we're going to see it differently. But I can remember when the old bank building was here, we didn't have any restaurants, the complaint was we didn't have a place to eat. There's 17 restaurants in Green Cove Springs right now. So we've got an opportunity to continue to grow that. We just have to make sure we do it together and we market together and we get the information out that this is perfect what we're doing. So anyway, thank y'all very much for being here today.
To follow up on what Van was just talking about, he mentioned the word brewery. In downtown Jacksonville, we just moved last year, Intuition Ale, into downtown. We just opened up Bowl City Brewery right next to what is being renovated right now, probably one of the oldest bank buildings, First Guarantee Bank in Jacksonville, one of the buildings reconstructed right after the 1901 fire. It's going to be a Calvert Chop House. So we got a brewery, 2 breweries there, planning, and on the backside of Intuition is Manifest Distillery, and we just approved plans, and that is all in the sports complex area. And in the Brooklyn neighborhood area, we just approved plans for Burlock and Barrel Distillery itself. So, long story short, if you're looking for a way, as I heard someone say, attract millennials, they're into organic foods. They do not. Their place is not town center. It is not St. Augustine outlets. It is all organic from a food standpoint. And with food comes the spirits, which is the microbreweries. That's their thing. If you want to grow your downtown corridor, make that a focal point, and they will come home from Gainesville and from Tallahassee and want to live here because you're providing them with the things that they want. And the other thing is from a health conscious standpoint, the ability to walk and run anywhere nearby, they're looking for that. So as I come up 17, I see very good sidewalks and things of that nature where people can bike and run as far as they want to. If you want to continue that particular trend and keep your children and your grandchildren here, do those aesthetic things and they will appreciate that more, because I lived in Miami for 12 years and they don't have that.
And our trail system, we have a phenomenal trail system, and we're continuing to work on that, and hopefully one day you'll be able to go all the way from Orange Park, all the way down to the Bear Conservation Area, and that would be wonderful.
Could I address that road to stay in the same topic? You and I spoke about this a while back ago with the breweries and stuff. We spoke about this in the gym, and you explained to me what you went through to get Ronnie's, I believe, alcohol license. The absolute, that's where you lost all your hair.
You don't remember that, do you?
If we looked at things differently, we've got that beautiful police station. Why couldn't that be a restaurant? Okay, why couldn't we, the only place to have a drink on this river is either your house, or, we're coming later, or is it the Elks Club? Otherwise, you gotta go all the way to the Club Continental to have a drink, and then drive home.
Because of you too.
Yeah, but I'm a millennium. I just came back, well, I'm not a millennium, but I just came back from New York last week. I want to go have a drink. I want to sit outside. I want to enjoy outside. I don't want to feel like I'm in a bar in Boston somewhere. I want to see the river. I really want something nice. And I think if we, because it's dark in Boston, if we marketed more to breweries or getting these millenniums to come and drink by not putting a business through what you had to go through to get Ronnie's here. If it was more attractive, I mean, that police station's not doing anything except being eaten by termites. So, this is my opinion.
Just to let you know, we have reduced our alcohol restrictions from when Ronnie's was here to 40 in my time, but we have made changes because of that. We just recently, this past year, made a change. We're constantly, Ronnie's has alcohol. I'm pretty sure the Italian restaurant has alcohol. We're pretty easy on sale, but so we have promoted. We did change it. I don't know. It's 5. Yeah, we changed it last year, but 5 or 7 years we made a major reduction with the gateway corridor to get restaurants to come into town. So we're trying. We're moving it.
Hi. I'm Shelley Bates, 419 South Palmetto Avenue. I moved here in '93 with the Navy, and I stayed here because I liked the area. I've always thought that Green Cove Springs had the potential to be more than it is. It looks like we're moving in the right direction. I really want to encourage the city council not to drop our standards. When you drive into town and you see pawn shops, gun shops, ATV shops, sorry to use your example, those are the kind of things that do scream redneck little town. And we're never going to attract the millennials and the breweries and the high-end kind of things we're looking for that Green Cove could have if those are the businesses we allow to be here. So I just would like to encourage the city council to keep up the standards, make it look nice. The only way into town is 17, and that's what you see. So when you drive in and you see, yeah, sure, 16 is also a way into town if you live in Penny Farms. Although, I used to go that way to Tampa, so to be fair, you can actually get to other parts of Florida on 16. But 17 is the main way, that's the way people come in and out, that's the way people come to work, and it's really not quite where it needs to be. It's still very unattractive, it's still very depressed looking, and that's not what Green Cove should be or can be.
Thank you very much. I would like to, I'd like to address one thing. The corridor on 16 and 17, most of those are private properties, and the only tools that we have are enhancements like our matching grant program and code enforcement, of which, you know, we try really hard to encourage the businesses to keep those properties looking trimmed and well done. And so the city does the best they can, but those are private properties.
Clara Freeman here in Green Cove, St. John's Avenue. We retired here a few years ago because of the community, the beauty of it. Of course, with the river and the schools, that added a cherry on the sundae. My thing is, I agree with Rick, we need to tweak our ordinances. I am, you can label me as one of the rednecks in town, and I'm proud of it. My big thing I want to say is what I'm hearing each of you talk about. It's not all over town in every spot. There is a lot here, there's a lot there, there's a dead building over here. I think code enforcement is your biggest enemy here because it's not enforced. And that's my biggest thing, is the redneck of Green Cove.
Yeah, go ahead. We try really hard. We have, and I'm probably the biggest supporter of code enforcement. And some people really don't like that. And I will tell you, Mitra our code enforcement officer, does a really stellar job at what she does. And we really do try hard with the limited resources that we have to enforce our codes. But I want to tell you something, it is complaint driven, because when we get a complaint, she is on it. So
I just want to add to that, we do active code enforcement, and just for the numbers, we had 217 complaints for 2016.
So let's triple that. Go ahead.
My name is Sarah Spurrier. I live at 1672 Pebble Beach Boulevard, and I have lived here 44 years. So has anybody else got that beat? Yeah. See the hands?
60 years old.
Not only have I lived here, I have volunteered on the Planning and Zoning Board. And probably for close to 16 or 17 years, I have been a volunteer on that board. It is a wonderful thing to do. To volunteer, I would like to ask people to do it if you can, because it's very interesting. You'll learn a lot more about the way the city operates than you could ever learn coming to any of these meetings. I've been here 44 years. There's been some ups and downs, of course, like every city. It has been wonderful for me because my children have grown up, but guess what? They've all come back and they all have jobs in Clay County, which is wonderful. The only thing that makes me sad are what you all voice, is the empty buildings that we all look at every time we go up and down 17. Now, these buildings are owned by private owners. The city cannot go to these people and say, you have to have somebody in your business within a certain time. That is not possible. So I would like to ask you, please do not blame the city when you see a lot of empty buildings, because a lot of times it is the owners of these buildings. So I would just hope that you will understand that part of it. We have a wonderful city council, we have wonderful city people. And I know that also with the code enforcement, they have to go before a judge. I'm not sure whether you're all aware of how that works. You can't just, and you might want to explain that to them, because it's not like she goes and she gives them a ticket or writes, and then they do something, because that's not the end of it. You do have to go before a judge that will give them, I don't know how many chances they get, but a lot of people get chances. Anyway, and thank you, gentlemen, for coming. You were very informative. I appreciate everything that you said. Thank you.
I just want to comment real quick about the empty buildings. As this lady said, the city can't force somebody or, make somebody move in there. Those are macroeconomic issues. As the economy improves, people want to move here. Somebody will move in there when they feel like they can go in there and make some money. That's what makes that happen. So population growth, being business friendly certainly encourages that sort of thing, but nobody has a magic wand. I promise you, if we did, we'd be using it every day. But Clay County's population is growing. We're at about 208,000 people right now, second largest county in the region outside of Jacksonville. St. Johns County is at about 220, and we are rapidly growing at about 3.5% a year. So things will get better over time.
Okay, I'm Megan Miller, 411 St. John's Avenue. I've lived here for 10 years. 10 years, I've seen nothing but going things down, lots of weeds, lots of buildings, nothing's going on at all. Then you're telling me that the buildings itself that are in this town, because it's privately owned, you guys have no control over, but yet you can't find them, or you can't tell them what, obviously what's going on in this town? I don't understand. Maybe you can help me out on that one. Wait, one last thing. We can't forget about the damn billboards. I have not seen so many billboards in one little town in my entire life, except for Broadway, which I'm from. But I don't get it. You guys, if you want this town to grow, except in just nothing but pizzerias or little low-end restaurants, you gotta get a little bit more class in this town. Otherwise, you're gonna wind up doing nothing, and nothing's gonna happen.
I just want to address the code enforcement. Thank you very much, Ms. Miller. Code enforcement, and Mitra does a great job. She said we had over 200 cases. Just last Thursday, we dismissed 5 or 8? 7 cases from the magistrate. Some of those cases go back years. I mean, it takes time. It's a public process. It's not like you just come up and we go out, but the vast majority, we do get voluntary compliance. But please call Mitra, and she will address them. And there are people out in this audience that they know the benefit. They've seen what we've done with code enforcement on their own property and their neighbor's property. But it's an ongoing effort. So please, we're getting up to the summertime, which means grass is going to grow for vacant properties. And so please call her, because we can't have, you guys have got our eyes and ears, we don't have all those eyes and ears, but we have a really good process now, and our magistrate is great, and some of our before and after, I mean, we haven't accomplished everything, but a lot of our befores and afters have really made a difference in the community.
Mr. Kelly.
Hello.
I'm a millennial. He's a millennial.
Well, I did come up to talk about that a little bit. Stephen Kelly, 408 South Highland, Green Cove Springs. I actually kind of wanted to solicit some feedback from the panel, and I do thank you guys for coming up here and helping us out today. This is some really good dialogue that I think needed to happen about our corridor. To speak from a small business owner's perspective and kind of a millennial's perspective, when I think of Riverside and everything, how it began its development, it began by people doing kind of like what I did with our space over there in the city of Green Cove Springs. On the corner there, if it hadn't been a Starbucks beforehand, or if the landowner hadn't actually, in 2005, he took and renovated that property and turned it into 5, 6 very useful spaces that were practically turnkey ready. They had air conditioners, they were already had flooring, walls, dividing walls, everything else was already hooked up and ready to go. I think I borrowed $10,000 and got that coffee shop started. And there's not a lot of properties here in town that you can take $10,000 and turn it into a $500,000, $1 million company now, and I never would have been able to do it otherwise. And that's how Riverside started, is they didn't always start with Hop Tingers and all these big places that now have $500,000, $1 million to spend. They started with places that were smaller, more organic, like for example, when Kickbacks first started and everything. They were very similar to that. They had a very low budget, however it created a very organic buildup of places that people wanted to be, or kind of an epicenter. So for example, the landowner on that property has done a good job of making his place ready for business. You talk about that you need customers before you can get the businesses. Well, I believe that if we had more places like that here in town, if you can, I remember you spoke to tenant improvement dollars or encouraging that, and that was kind of what I was hoping to solicit a little bit of advice in that arena, because, for example, the old Roddy Robinson sat vacant for how long until the Sweatlands took and turned it into a useful space. All 3 spaces and the main building are all full. They're max capacity now, and they have great little business in there that all contribute to quality of life here in town. I know Van does a good job of the properties. As soon as he has an empty property, he's out there pounding the pavement, and he usually within a short period of time will get another small business in there. I know they're on Walnut. I think for the first time in a long time, that Walnut strip is full, especially the first block there is full. So I do commend him for, as a landowner, and the landowner where we're at, and the landowner, the Sweatlands and everything, for what they do for taking and investing the money. I know some of these properties are going to take substantial dollars, so it's going to take a bigger developer to try and get those places turned over. I do think the old Buick dealership is another one that could, those are some big dollars that are going to take to turn that over. So I didn't know if you guys had any advice on how to encourage landowners to make these improvements, because I guarantee if we have more spaces like what we were able to benefit from there, the old Starbucks space and the other buildings there, and then kind of what the Sweatlands in there, I think they'd all be full, and then the quality of life would turn around.
To address your question on encouragement of the landowners, nothing encourages them more than to know that an actual program exists that they could actually tap into to assist them with the renovation of that space, to then allow you, as a prospective business owner, to come in and occupy that particular space. So the first thing is, as a community, you got to determine whether or not you want to do just as I talked to you about. I can certainly provide to Janice our retail enhancement program guidelines. That's very open in terms of the type of businesses, and we try not to exclude. Only thing I exclude is light industrial within downtown. There's a specific reason for that. But that program that we utilize, when I got here in 2013, we had a retail vacancy rate fluctuated between 37 and 39%. In 3 years, I got that down to 22%. So we're still trying. And what we've also done is got other businesses. If you go to Black Sheep at Riverside, well, I've now got them to open up another restaurant in downtown itself. So we'll continue to do more of those type of businesses. I had a very difficult time during lunch hours when I first arrived trying to figure out where I actually wanted to go to. And I just come from a city that had Jimmy John's like right around the corner from my actual office. So I found someone that operated the Jimmy John's franchise and said, hey, by the way, if you build out this particular space, I'll provide you with $28,000 of an actual grant that if you stay open for 5 years is going to be forgiven. They were like, 6 months, Jimmy John's was open right on the corner there in Laura Street in Adams. It was that type of conversation that we were having with that particular franchisor, as well as the landlord, who was basically like, yeah, it's a great hot corner for us. So you're gonna have to, someone said marketing and being creative, you're gonna have to do that. Yeah, let's not look at the landlords as the evil landlords. Let's look at them in terms of how do we work with them. At the end of the day, Bill's correct, the space isn't occupied because nobody's, there to actually make money just yet. But sometimes you have to do some spec build out to get people there. But it's calculated risk on that particular spec build out. Because if your restaurant is successful, if you and your friends and others want to go into business, but there's just not space, the landlords here need to know that, and then I think they will all get creative.
First, I didn't know that, I've never heard that story about Jimmy John's.
Dude, somebody had a line. I'm not a small guy, so I gotta eat.
I don't remember where I used to eat lunch, because I eat at Jimmy John's probably 3 times a week. Thank you. I think Andre's comment about Jimmy John's is the key to the whole thing. I didn't know, for example, the housing issue. Not knowing that there's not a lot of new construction, that there's not a lot of inventory available in the city limits, that's news to me. I mean, not that I should know otherwise, but that's news to me. But also know that it's not just, I can't find the gentleman who spoke, but it's not just small businesses. I had a client who wanted to bring a million square foot, he needed a 1 million square foot warehouse for manufacturing. And believe it or not, in Jacksonville, there isn't one. There is no 1 million square foot warehouse available. And so, not even an old nasty one that you could rehab. There's nothing. There's no inventory of 1 million square feet. And so, he went to Alabama because we didn't have it and nobody was ready to deliver a spec building on a time frame that worked with this project. So I think it's about your personal relationships. It's about going to Dreamfinders Homes or going to a market that's maybe just a little bit bigger. Go to Jacksonville and find a small home builder and see if they want to build inventory down here. They probably have no idea that Green Cove exists. I mean, same thing on retail. If you have ideas on retail, there's a half a dozen small retail developers in Jacksonville that probably would do things here if they knew the opportunities existed. But I think it's about personal relationships and connecting dots as much as the programs. But what Andre said about the programs too is right on. If you have one in place, that can often motivate your landlord to do a little bit more. But personal relationships, go talk to people.
So many great topics have been brought up, and try to stay narrowly focused here. First of all, thank these guys for being here. Andre was just in Cleveland a couple days ago talking about the different, just got back last night, so thank you very, very much for coming down here. Steve, with his great experience, I just met him today, but like I said, done some research on him, and we're fortunate to have their perspective on Clay County and Green Cove Springs. The real estate option question, I can tell you from personal experience, we do have, that's our biggest challenge, one of our biggest challenges here in Clay County are limited real estate options. You get above a certain size building, we just don't have them. So you can't attract major employers. Very, very, very few people. In the 5 years I've been in this job, I've had one person who wanted to do a build-to-suit. Everybody wants to move into an existing building. They don't have the time, they don't have the patience, there's too much uncertainty. So that's something, but again, that's private sector money having the confidence to come here and invest in the community. It can be encouraged, there are incentives, but the best incentive in the world can't make a bad deal happen. When I saw Steve come up, it just reminded me, he talked about entrepreneurship and small business. We have a great network here in Clay County of supporting small business and supporting entrepreneurs. You need to know that. We need to continue to do a good job of marketing that effort. But that's what we need. We need more Steve Kellys. We need more young folks willing to invest and take a risk and open these small businesses and whatever the city and whatever the county can do to encourage that. And we need to celebrate those stories. Again, doing some of the research of what attracts people. We need to market Steve Kelly and the Steve Kellys of the world The other project that Dan and I are working on, trying to bring here to Green Cove Springs, to tap into that hip, cool, millennial, whatever words you want to use. Bottom line, it's young people with money coming here to live in our community. Calavita, we need to market Calavita. You want to, and I'm the first one that used the R word earlier. I apologize if I didn't say it. Michael, whatever his name is from 2G Synergy, made the comment. It's a German national moved here. It's his statement about Clay County, not the community. And brother, I live in Clay Hill. Y'all want to find some rednecks? Come on, come home with me. I was born and raised in the country. I love living in the country. And as a young teenage kid said to me many years ago, there's a difference between country and redneck. And so you can have a rural agricultural country community, but it can still be classy and open and accepting. Unfortunately, that R word has some negative connotations that go along with it. We shouldn't be so hard on ourselves. This is a great community. We all live here. Y'all got up and came to this room, to this meeting, and have sat there for 2 hours because you love it. It's a great place. Yeah, we can. Who better to find our faults than us looking in the mirror? But let's don't be too hard on ourselves. We again did the entrepreneurial, the small business support, SBDC. Y'all know Andy Grogan. You can't find a person that works harder to support small business. If you know somebody that, I see you shaking your head back there, the lady is a workhorse. If you have a business idea and you've got a little bit of capital to bring to the game, she will help you get your business up and running. So if you know somebody that wants to start a business, encourage them and let them know that there are resources everywhere. We need to continue the dialogue. I know you will. I'm sure that in the next 90 days there'll be more of this. The Riverside comment. The project that Van and I are working with, it's an existing company here in Clay County. They want to expand, and they said, I was introduced to them, where is the Riverside in Clay County? Where's the Riverside? We want to go to a Riverside type community. Where's the Riverside? Well, there's only one answer to that, and we're here. I used to sell real estate in Magnolia Point and had an out-of-town visitor come through, and I remember making the statement that Walnut Street was the San Marco of Clay County. Admittedly, it's a little aspirational, but it has that character, that charm, the brick streets, the historical architecture. And so we need to continue to market that. The housing question, we've had multiple discussions about it. There is a shortage of workforce housing. If you want to buy a $500,000 house, you can probably find one around here. There's a lot of people that need to live in an $80,000 house, particularly the people making $10, $12, $14 an hour in these various companies around here. And we are addressing that. We're trying to address it. It needs to be addressed. You provide housing, people come here, they live, they spend their money, and it just grows like that. And I mentioned earlier, there's no such thing as an easy answer. These are all long-term issues. And so I just believe we need to have the vision, the plan, and continue to work it. And again, I really appreciate being on this panel with you guys. I want to make sure somebody gets my picture with these guys.
Well, I just want to say, to address the housing issue, we are working, Mitra and I are working as kind of a double code enforcement to try to turn some of these vacant properties, abandoned properties, and try to get them in work. We're working with Habitat, Clay Habitat, to try to figure out a way that we can turn them around to provide housing. And also just generally in housing, we are having a stellar year with housing in the last year in housing starts. We are in phase A, A, B, C are all platted in Magnolia Point. Green Finders, almost a week doesn't go by that don't drop off a new set of plans. Houses in between Drees and a couple other builders, they're pushing 400,000, some new housing construction. So they're all between 250 and 300,000 for. Also Magnolia West, we're completing, DR Horton is completing phase 2A and 2B. Phase 1 is sold out. They completely built it. 2A is almost 2B. They're completed, and they are starting right back down Medina. They're starting on phase 3, and they wouldn't be moving forward if there was a need. And those houses, they're not exactly workforce, but they're all under $200,000 houses that the houses that DR Horton is building in city limits. So in Magnolia West, it's totally changing the community. I just want to thank you, and thank my panel again. I'm going to turn it over to the mayor. And if you have a thought after today that you didn't express, please email at jfleet@greencovesprings.com or call my office, and we'll add you to whatever comments you have. This is a continuing discussion.
Thank you, Janice. I want to thank everybody for coming, but I want to thank our panel, Andre and Sue, for all of her hard work in putting this together and advertising it, and Mitra, our code enforcement, and our city manager, Danielle. I want to thank everybody for coming, and please don't be shy. A lot of you don't seem shy, but let us know what your thoughts are. We're very open to whatever you have to say. Thank you for coming.
Okay.